Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by Transrelational Healing, ShamanSpiritCenter.com, and LittleShaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that unfortunately everyone involved in relationships with narcissists deals with eventually, and that is losing the narcissist. The fact is, losing a narcissist is no real loss. Yes, it hurts, and yes, it can be traumatic, even depending on how the situation ends. This is not to suggest that we should ignore our feelings of grief or loss or that they are somehow not real, but the reality is narcissists are not exactly known for enriching the lives of the people around them. On the contrary, it could be said that they bring nothing but problems, damage, and chaos to other people's lives. Losing a narcissist is also the loss of those things, which is not only not a loss, it's actually considered a gain by most people. Some people call it addition by subtraction. These relationships typically represent overwhelmingly negative experiences in someone's life, and as legitimately sad or upsetting a loss may be, there's almost always this aspect of it as well. However, even though this is enough of a reason on its own, that's not the only way that losing a narcissist represents no real loss. The truth is, the relationship itself is not really real. Again, this doesn't mean that we should simply ignore our feelings of grief and loss or that these are somehow invalid, but in a relationship with a narcissist of any kind, parent, child, sibling, friend, spouse, doesn't matter. You are having a relationship with an image of the narcissist, a reflection. It's not a relationship with a real person, and they're not having a relationship with you either. They're having a relationship with an image of you. This can be difficult for authentic people to understand, and it might be something that people who have a stable, authentic identity can't truly understand at all on any real level, because for them, it can't really be any other way. They are authentic, and that's just how it is. But for narcissists, they have nothing to really invest because they don't have an authentic self. They have mimicry and approximations of a true identity that they use instead. It's not something they're doing on purpose per se, it's just how things work for them. If narcissists couldn't use mimicry and approximations of identity in relationships, they couldn't do anything. They can't have a relationship at all, even in the limited ways that they do. In some ways, narcissists are like an empty screen waiting for something to be projected onto it in order to, quote, come to life. Without the projected image, the screen is just a screen. It can't do anything. This requires the participation of other people, just like with projectors and analog televisions. It requires something separate to supply the image. The screen is just a place to show that. The image itself is manifested somewhere else. That is where the other people come in. The image may be originally suggested by the narcissist. It may be conceptualized by them at the outset of the interaction, but it is actually concretized and made real in the minds and perceptions and reactions of the people around the narcissist. The narcissist merely provides the vessel, the platform, for that externally manufactured image to be displayed upon. Narcissists do not have a coherent, consistent sense of identity that exists independently of their relationship. They are essentially parasitic in that sense, in the sense that they're relying on others to project an image onto them in order to create the narcissist's identity and sense of self. Without that, there's just nothing there. They are truly empty. Because of that, the other person or the other people are actually the vehicle that make the relationship a thing. It literally does not exist without this. As we discussed in the episode called Stop Filling in the Gaps for the Narcissist, when people stop putting in so much labor physically to do things, labor emotionally, and even mental labor to see things and project things and come to conclusions, what you find is that there's nothing else really there. You were the entire relationship, and when your investment stops, the whole thing is revealed for what it really is, which is an illusion. It has no genuine substance beyond what you are creating and sustaining through your own labor and efforts. And to be clear, this is not about who's putting in more effort or who is showing up for the other person better. It's really just about substance. The relationship exists because you are pouring your own substance as an authentic human being into it. The narcissist has nothing to add. The screen adds nothing to the movie or to the show that you're watching on it. And in this same way, the narcissist contributes nothing to any relationship other than a body to be in the relationship. It's important to understand, too, that this dynamic is not something narcissists are deliberately or maliciously perpetrating. It's the reality of their psychological and relational capacity. Narcissists are not hiding some deeper, truer self that they will eventually reveal to the quote-unquote right person. There's no hidden treasure here or authentic core that will be shared with that one lucky person if all the right conditions are met or the right combination is entered into the padlock. The emptiness and lack of a true self is the reality that they are operating from. It's really not any deeper than that. And anyone who has spent any significant length of time with one of these personalities will tell you that. There's just nothing there. People often insist that narcissists are hiding something, that they are withholding things, and they are. Your instincts are, in fact, correct. But what they're hiding is the fact that this superficial projected image and its complete dependence on external validation is all there is to them. The facade is not hiding some greater depth or substance. It's hiding the absence of any real substance at all. Pathologically narcissistic people do not have a true self that can be accessed by anybody, including themselves. In reality, what you are experiencing is the totality of who and what this person really is. This can be hard for people to accept. Many people have spent a long time laboring under this assumption, this belief, and it is at the core of many of the fantasies that are driving the relationship itself. There is something there. There's something to reach for or to aspire to. If I can just get it, it's all going to be worth it. For people to accept that what they've experienced is literally all there is means to accept that there's nothing here of substance at all, that all they've gotten out of this is all they're ever going to get because it's all there actually is to get. The relationship cannot provide anything more than what has already been experienced. That isn't easy to internalize. Many people will flat out refuse to believe it, at least for a time. However, as things go on, for most people, it simply can't be denied any longer. It shows up too often in too many different ways. So much so that a rational person becomes incapable of dismissing or reinterpreting it anymore. It is what it is. As painful as this is, it is better to accept it than to keep holding out hope for things that are not real or that cannot happen. You've been in it. You have seen what you've seen. You know what you know. You know this is all true. Even if you didn't know that, you knew something was much more wrong here than can be explained through reasonable explanations. And you were right. If you've been dealing with a pathologically narcissistic personality, this probably all resonates with you on a very deep level. It's natural to be hurt by that. It's natural to not want it to be true. But it is not okay to pretend that it isn't true. We need to trust ourselves in these situations, and the truth is, you already know the truth. Resisting that only makes dealing with it more difficult. The truth is, the relationship is not real, the narcissist is not real, and the image of you that the narcissist got you invested in is not real either. In many ways, this is perhaps what people are grieving the most. The seeing of themselves as so important and so special and so idealized through someone else's eyes. This is extremely intoxicating, but more than that, it feels real. It does feel real. This is why the corresponding devaluation is so devastating. It feels like a loss of a part of ourselves. It's not any more real than the cartoon villain caricature they construct of you as a bad guy. But it feels so good and so true that people mourn the loss of this fantasy self perhaps more than any other thing in these relationships. But this is not a real loss either, because it's not a real you. When we hear people talk about how great the relationship was in the beginning and how great the narcissist was, it is almost never about the narcissist themselves or how great of a person the narcissist actually was. It's always about the things the narcissist did for them or how the narcissist made them feel that the narcissist is now not doing anymore. That bears thinking about some more. It really does, because what it implies is that we don't actually miss the narcissist at all. We miss how they made us feel, who they saw us as, who they helped us see ourselves as. When this illusion invariably falls apart, people are left not just grieving the loss of the relationship as it once was, not just the loss of the narcissist as they thought them to be, but the loss of that cherished, idealized self-image. We miss the way the narcissist made us feel about ourselves because we were the true object of our own affection all along, even though we didn't know that. And that's no surprise because in many ways, narcissists are not real entities in relationships or in the world anyway. As we discussed earlier, there are blank screens that other people project upon. The screen itself is not the image. The screen is the space where the image can be seen. A screen without an image being projected on it is empty. It's nothing. This is the reality of narcissists as entities in the world. It's what narcissistic supply actually does. In a very true sense, supply makes narcissists real. It supplies them with an image of themselves that they can experience, which they appear unable to do in any other way. It provides narcissists with an external image of themselves, which they require as they are unable to generate one internally. This is why people holding images of narcissists that the narcissist does not agree with or can't accept results in such massive reaction and pushback. Because they have no stable or cohesive self-image of their own, they appear to be incapable of viewing the images that others have of them as separate from themselves, as just an opinion. They appear to be essentially forced to experience these images of themselves that they receive from other people as real and true, because they have no actual self-image to compare it to or to combat against it. This is why, if the image is bad or negative somehow, this is intolerable. They generally attempt to regain control over this image through whatever means they can. They have to change that image because if they can't, they got to live with it. Not just as an opinion of them, but as the reality of who they are, at least until a different reflection can be found. Many narcissists seek out different reflections when this happens. They try to find other people they can convince to feel sorry for them and to believe they're the victim, for example, or to view them as the hero in the story, this kind of thing. This is not just about smearing the other person. It's not even just about a preemptive strike or controlling the narrative. It's about trying to find a tolerable reflection of themselves. The narcissist isn't just reacting to a negative perception of themselves, but actively seeking out a more favorable one to replace it. This explains in large part the obsessive nature of their attention-seeking behaviors, the constant need for validation, admiration, ego stroking. It's not just a superficial craving for praise, but a psychological necessity in the absence of a stable internal self-image. So the relationship is not real, who you are depicted as in the relationship is not real, and who the narcissist presents themselves as is also not real. And as we've been discussing, this isn't even just about pretending to be something they're not. It's about pretending to be something at all. In other words, this is not just about putting on or perpetrating a false persona. This is about a person who is not really a whole person at all. The false persona does not hide a true self that is deeper or meaner or crueler or more authentic or anything else. It hides a no self that is nothing and nobody. Narcissists are like a kaleidoscope, lots of different pieces that make interesting images when reflected in a mirror. As you shift the environment that the fragments are in, the reflection changes and the image changes. But if you take the mirrors away, all you have are a bunch of disconnected fragments rattling around in a can. The illusion is destroyed as soon as you can clearly see what you're actually looking at. But we don't have to be a mirror, and we don't need another person to be one for us, which is all these relationships amount to in the end. They showed us a false image of ourselves, and we showed them one of themselves. Good and bad, back and forth for however long the relationship lasts. When we lost that good image of ourselves, we felt that. We grieved that, and that's okay. But the truth is, we don't need to invest in a false image of who we are, good or bad, that's being sold to us by a snake oil salesman. Who we are, how we are, what we are, it's enough. Until we truly believe that, we will remain susceptible to this kind of manipulation and exploitation of these vulnerabilities by narcissists and other toxic personalities. We must be able to define ourselves for ourselves. We must know what we are and what we are not. We must be able to accept ourselves for ourselves. When we can do these things, the snake oil is not attractive anymore. Narcissists offer a fairy tale, an idealized representation of the relationship and of ourselves. But we are adults. We are too old to believe in fairy tales. We can deal with reality, most importantly, the reality of ourselves. We don't need to invest in someone else's fantasy image of us or themselves or relationships. We have our own image of ourselves, and it's real. That is where we need to look to see who we are, because the truth is, if we keep trying to find ourselves in relationships, chances are good that all we're going to find is another narcissist. Another narcissist waiting to sell us another fairy tale. I hope that clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online, over the phone, via text, via messenger, via email, through Skype, and through Zoom for clients worldwide. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. I teach workshops, seminars, and clinics throughout the year, so if you are interested in seeing what we're running this month, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. I have several books in publication, so if you're interested in picking up a copy of any or all of these, you can do that on littleshaman.org and on amazon.com. And if you are interested in joining our support group with access to exclusive content, weekly support meetings, and more, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by Transrelational Healing, ShamanSpiritCenter.com, and LittleShaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you. Have a beautiful day.
If you've been struggling through dealing with or recovering from an unhealthy relationship with a narcissist or other toxic personality, the Little Shaman has a catalog of over 500 YouTube videos designed to support your journey from discovery to recovery. You can also find additional resources on the Little Shaman website, including tools, courses, workshops, a support group with weekly meetings, and one-on-one appointments with the Little Shaman that are open to clients worldwide. There's even an AI chatbot built and trained exclusively by the Little Shaman using her work that can answer questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For more information, visit littleshaman.org. You can listen to the Little Shaman wherever you find your favorite podcasts.